Hello and welcome. It's so good to have you here with me today. Let's talk about that salad. You know the one. You make it for lunch or maybe for dinner, and you feel really good about your choice. You've got your crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, crunchy cucumbers. You're doing everything right for your health. You're taking control, making smart decisions. But what if I told you that the dressing you're about to pour on top could be undoing all that good work? What if that innocent-looking bottle is secretly sabotaging your best efforts? Here's something that might surprise you. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco, found that added sugar is hidden in a staggering 74% of processed foods in the American grocery store. And that includes hundreds of those so-called healthy salad dressings lining the aisle. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the food industry's best-kept secrets. We'll uncover what they don't always want you to know about those colorful bottles. And if you've been telling yourself, a salad is a salad, it's gotta be good for me, we're going to challenge that assumption and show you how to make sure it truly is. In the next 25 minutes, we are going on a deep dive. We're going to count down the top 10 ways your salad dressing might be secretly loaded with sugar and other health wreckers. And for each one, I'm going to give you the power to fight back so you can take back control of your health, starting with your very next meal. The problem we're tackling today is simple, but it's frustrating. You're trying to do the right thing. Maybe you're working to manage your weight, keep your blood sugar stable, protect your heart, or just feel more energetic. But these hidden sugars and unhealthy ingredients are sabotaging you right where you least expect it, in your healthy salad. Our goal today is to change that. By the end of this video, my hope is that you'll feel like a food label detective, empowered to spot these traps from a mile away. We're going to give you the tools you need to make choices that support your vitality and your independence. We're not just sharing opinions here. Everything we'll discuss is backed by research and guidelines from trusted American institutions that you know and respect, like the American Heart Association, the Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins Medicine. We're going to look at the science, but we'll break it down in a way that's easy to understand, and more importantly, easy to use in your daily life. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to count down the top 10 culprits, starting from the more obvious offenders and working our way down to the sneakiest, most deceptive marketing tricks in the book. For each one, we'll talk about why it's a problem for our health as we get older, and I'll give you a simple action step and often a healthy, delicious alternative you can make right in your own kitchen. You'll definitely want to stick around for number 4 and number 5. These are the ones that fool almost everyone, even the most health-conscious shoppers I know. They are true game changers. And a quick but important reminder, I am not a doctor. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always, and I mean always, consult your personal physician for any questions you have about your health. They know you and your health history best. All right, are you ready? Let's get started. Let's pull back the curtain and begin our countdown. All right, let's kick off our countdown at number 10 with a category that, in many ways, wears its sweetness right on its sleeve: the fruity vinaigrettes. I'm talking about raspberry vinaigrette, strawberry poppy seed, and those other sweet, brightly colored dressings that promise a taste of summer in a bottle. Now, you might be thinking, it's made with fruit, so that's natural sugar, right? Well, yes and no. While there might be a little bit of fruit puree in there, the overwhelming sweetness you're tasting almost always comes from a heavy dose of added sugars. Let's look at the numbers. A typical store-bought raspberry vinaigrette can easily pack 6 grams of sugar in just a 2-tablespoon serving. Some popular poppy seed dressings are even more shocking. containing a staggering 11 grams of sugar per serving. To put that in perspective, 11 grams of sugar is like taking nearly 3 sugar cubes and sprinkling them right over your healthy greens. The American Heart Association gives us some clear guidelines. They recommend that women should aim to limit added sugar to about 25 grams or 6 teaspoons per day. For men, the limit is a bit higher at 36 grams or about 9 teaspoons. When a single serving of dressing can use up almost half of a woman's entire daily sugar budget, you can see how quickly it can derail your health goals, often without you even realizing it. I remember my aunt, bless her heart, who absolutely loved spinach salads topped with fresh strawberries and a bottled raspberry vinaigrette. She was so proud of her healthy lunch choice, but she was also managing pre-diabetes and couldn't understand why her blood sugar readings were always a little higher in the afternoon. She was so focused on the healthy spinach and the natural sugar in the strawberries that she never suspected the dressing was the real culprit, delivering a concentrated dose of added sugar. So your action step here is to take back control by making your own. And I promise, it's incredibly simple. For a delicious, vibrant raspberry vinaigrette, all you need to do is blend about a half cup of fresh or even frozen raspberries, a quarter cup of a good quality vinegar, like white balsamic or red wine vinegar, and a little bit of Dijon mustard to help it all come together. If you feel it needs a touch of sweetness, you can add a small amount of honey or maple syrup, but the key is that you are in control of the amount. Blend that with a good quality olive oil, and you have a dressing that's bursting with real fruit flavor, not just sugar. The same goes for a healthy poppy seed dressing. The secret is to use plain Greek yogurt as the base. It gives you that wonderful creaminess and a nice boost of protein without the sugar rush. Just mix it with a little white vinegar, a touch of honey if you like, and your poppy seeds. It takes less than 5 minutes and puts you squarely in the driver's seat of your own health. Now, it's important to mention, if you are consistently experiencing symptoms like frequent urination, excessive thirst, blurred vision, or unexplained fatigue, especially after meals, these could be signs that your blood sugar is running too high, a condition called hyperglycemia. That's not something to ignore or guess about. It's a clear signal that it's time to schedule a visit and have a conversation with your healthcare provider. So we've seen how even dressings that seem healthy because of fruit can be a sugar trap. But what about those old-fashioned, savory favorites that many of us grew up with? Well, they have their own sweet secrets, which brings us directly to culprit number 9. Coming in at number 9 on our countdown are 2 dressings that might bring back some fond memories of steakhouse salads and family dinners from years gone by: French and Catalina. That bright orange, tangy, and distinctly sweet dressing is a true American classic. Unfortunately, that nostalgic flavor we remember is often built on a foundation of pure sugar. If you turn over a bottle of a major brand of Catalina dressing, you'll likely see that sugar is the very first or second ingredient listed, right after tomato puree or water. That means, by weight, it's one of the most dominant ingredients in the bottle. A single 2-tablespoon serving can easily contain 8 grams of sugar. And if you look at homemade recipes from that era, it's even more eye-opening. One popular recipe for Catalina dressing calls for a half cup of white sugar. At that point, it's not really a dressing anymore. French dressing is no better. A typical commercial version can have between 6 and 12 grams of sugar in a serving. As one health expert from WebMD pointed out, that's about the same amount of sugar you'd get from a chocolate chip cookie. When sugar becomes the primary ingredient, it starts to negate the wonderful health benefits of the fresh vegetables you're eating. It causes a rapid spike in your blood sugar, which can lead to an energy crash later. Over time, a diet high in added sugar contributes to chronic inflammation, weight gain, and an increased risk for serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. I think of my father-in-law, a wonderful man named George. He would only eat a salad if it was drenched in French dressing. He'd always say, "It's the only way to make these greens taste good." He was carefully managing his type 2 diabetes and was so diligent about avoiding desserts and sweets. He had absolutely no idea that the healthy salad he was eating every single night was delivering a dose of sugar that was comparable to the very desserts he was so proudly avoiding. But the good news is, you can still enjoy that classic tangy sweet flavor without the sugar bomb. You just have to take the power back into your own kitchen. For a much healthier French or Catalina-style dressing, you can start with a base of tomato paste. That gives you the color and the savory foundation. Then, instead of a cup of sugar, you can add a small amount of a natural sweetener, like a tablespoon of honey or maple syrup. You'll be amazed at how little you need. Whisk that together with a good vinegar, like apple cider or white wine vinegar, some onion powder for that classic flavor, and a quality olive oil. You get all the flavor you remember, but with a tiny fraction of the sugar. And this is another good time for a quick but important reminder. If you are actively managing a condition like diabetes or heart disease, and you notice that your numbers, whether it's your blood glucose, your blood pressure, or your cholesterol, aren't where your doctor wants them to be despite your best efforts, it's time to become a detective and look for these hidden sources of sugar and sodium. And, of course, always keep your doctor in the loop about your diet and any symptoms you might be experiencing. From the purely sweet to the tangy sweet, we've covered some major sources of sugar. But the food industry is clever. They also know how to hide sugar in dressings that are supposed to be purely savory. And that leads us straight to number 8. At number 8, we encounter the sweet and savory deceivers. This category includes popular dressings like honey mustard and sesame ginger. They sound balanced, maybe even a little more sophisticated than the others. They promise a blend of flavors, not just pure sweetness. But those names, honey and sweet, are right there on the label. And it seems that manufacturers often take that as a license to go completely overboard with the sugar. Let's start with honey mustard. You'd expect a simple blend of honey and mustard, right? But if you look at the label of a popular restaurant-style version, you might be shocked to find it contains a whopping 9 grams of sugar in just 2 tablespoons. And what's worse, high fructose corn syrup is often listed as the second ingredient, even before the honey itself. Another common brand contains 7 grams of sugar per serving. That's the equivalent of nearly 2 sugar cubes on your salad. It's less of a honey mustard and more of a syrup mustard. Sesame ginger dressings are just as tricky. They lure you in with the promise of an exotic, savory, Asian-inspired flavor, but they are frequently loaded with sugar to balance the saltiness of the soy sauce and the sharpness of the ginger. One very popular brand of sesame ginger dressing contains 8 grams of added sugar per serving. The problem, as we're learning, is that this constant barrage of added sugar does more than just affect our waistline. It contributes to a state of low-grade chronic inflammation throughout the body. For many of us, this can make conditions like arthritis and general joint pain feel worse, which is a major concern when we want to stay active and independent. I have a friend, Carol, who absolutely loves those Asian-inspired chicken salads from cafes. She'd get one for lunch a few times a week, complete with a generous pour of sesame ginger vinaigrette, and she felt so virtuous for eating a salad. But she couldn't figure out why she would always have a major energy crash around 3 p.m. She just blamed it on getting older. But it wasn't age. The action step here is to reclaim those flavors with simple, real ingredients. For a truly healthy and delicious honey mustard, you really only need four things: a good quality olive oil, a flavorful Dijon mustard, a splash of apple cider or white wine vinegar, and a small amount of real honey. You whisk it together in a bowl, and you get to decide how sweet it is. You'll be amazed at how little honey you actually need to get that perfect balance when you're not competing with corn syrup and other additives. For a fantastic sesame ginger dressing, you can do the same. Start with rice vinegar and a little bit of low-sodium soy sauce or tamari. Add fresh grated ginger and fresh minced garlic. The real stuff has so much more vibrant flavor than the powdered versions. Then, add just a touch of toasted sesame oil for that authentic aroma, and whisk in your olive oil. You get all the zing and savory flavor you want, without the sugar load. Now, if you are experiencing persistent joint pain or stiffness, it's always wise to speak with your doctor. While diet can certainly play a powerful role in managing inflammation, it's crucial to rule out any other underlying medical causes. Please don't just assume it's arthritis and that nothing can be done. A diet lower in sugar and processed foods is a powerful tool in your toolkit, but it's just one part of a bigger picture that you should always discuss with your healthcare team. So far, the culprits we've unmasked have mostly been vinaigrettes. But what about those thick, rich, creamy dressings that so many of us love? Well, they come with their own set of problems, and it's not always just about the sugar. That brings us directly to number 7. All right, at number 7, we're officially entering the world of creamy dressings, and the two undisputed kings of this category are Caesar and blue cheese. They are rich, they are savory, and they have the power to turn a simple plate of greens into a truly decadent meal. But as we all know, that decadence often comes at a cost. The main issue with these dressings is a powerful trifecta of high calories, unhealthy saturated fats, and a whole lot of sodium. Let's break it down. A typical store-bought Caesar dressing is made from a base of mayonnaise, oil, and Parmesan cheese. This combination can pack anywhere from 120 to 160 calories and a hefty 13 to 17 grams of fat in just a tiny 2-tablespoon serving. Blue cheese dressing is a similar story, with a base of buttermilk, oil, and chunks of cheese, leading to very high levels of saturated fat and sodium. So why does this matter so much, especially for us? Well, diets that are high in saturated fats, the kind that are prevalent in these creamy dressings, have been strongly linked to increased levels of LDL cholesterol, which you probably know as the bad cholesterol. High LDL cholesterol is a major risk factor for heart disease, which remains a top health concern in America. The American Heart Association recommends that we limit our intake of saturated fat. And these dressings can use up a big chunk of our daily budget in a single meal, without us even thinking about it. I'm reminded of a neighbor of mine, Frank. His doctor had put him on a diet to help lower his cholesterol, and his wife, doing her best to help, started making him big, beautiful salads with grilled chicken for dinner every night. But Frank absolutely loved his Caesar dressing. He'd tell me, "I'm being good, I'm eating salad." He was so proud of himself. But when he went back to the doctor, his cholesterol numbers hadn't budged. It turned out that his good salad was being drowned in a dressing that was working directly against his health goals. It was a real aha moment for them. But here's the secret to getting that creamy satisfaction without the health risks: Greek yogurt. It's a fantastic, healthy swap. For an amazing, healthy Caesar dressing, you can blend plain Greek yogurt with a little bit of olive oil, some fresh lemon juice, Dijon mustard, a dash of Worcestershire sauce, and some minced garlic. You get all the creaminess and all the tangy flavor, plus a wonderful boost of protein for a fraction of the calories and saturated fat. The same trick works perfectly for blue cheese dressing. You use that Greek yogurt base and then gently stir in your blue cheese crumbles, a splash of lemon juice for brightness, and some fresh herbs like chives. It's rich, it's satisfying, and it's a dressing that's working for your heart health, not against it. Of course, it's so important to know your numbers. If you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure or high cholesterol, or if your doctor has advised you to lose weight for your health, it is absolutely essential to work closely with them. They can help you set realistic goals and monitor your progress safely. Please, never make drastic changes to your diet, especially if you're on medication for these conditions, without their direct guidance and approval. Caesar and blue cheese are classic offenders, but there's one creamy dressing that reigns supreme in America. It's a staple in nearly every household, and it might just be the biggest saboteur of them all. Let's talk about number 6. Coming in at number 6 is the undisputed champion of salad dressings in America, ranch. We put it on our salads. We dip our carrots and celery in it. Some people even put it on their pizza. We absolutely love it. But our long-standing love affair with ranch might just be a toxic relationship for our health. If you look at the back of a bottle of store-bought ranch, it can read like a minefield of unhealthy ingredients. The base is typically soybean oil, an inflammatory seed oil, followed by buttermilk, sugar, and egg yolks. A standard 2-tablespoon serving can have around 130 calories, 14 grams of fat, and over 260 milligrams of sodium. And let's be honest with each other. Who really stops at just 2 tablespoons? It's so easy to pour on double or triple that amount without a second thought. But it goes beyond just the fat and calories. Many popular brands of ranch dressing contain a host of additives like monosodium glutamate, or MSG, to enhance flavor, along with artificial flavors and chemical preservatives like sorbic acid and calcium disodium EDTA to extend shelf life. These are the hallmarks of what nutrition scientists call ultra-processed foods. And a growing body of research has linked diets high in these foods to an increased risk of heart disease, obesity, and type 2 diabetes. My own mother was a dipper. She would have a beautiful plate of raw carrots, celery sticks, and bell pepper strips, thinking she was getting a wonderful, healthy snack. But she would dip each bite into a big bowl of ranch dressing. When I really thought about it, she wasn't really eating vegetables with a side of dressing. By now, you can probably guess the secret ingredient for a healthy, homemade ranch. That's right. It's our friend, plain Greek yogurt. To make a delicious and genuinely healthy ranch dressing right at home, you simply mix plain Greek yogurt with a little bit of buttermilk, or even just regular milk to thin it to the right consistency. Then you add your classic ranch seasonings: dried dill, dried chives, garlic powder, and onion powder. That's it. You get that creamy, tangy flavor that you love, but with a huge boost of protein and far less of the unhealthy fats and sodium. It is truly a game changer for ranch lovers. Now, a quick red flag to be aware of. If you ever notice persistent swelling in your hands, feet, or ankles, or if you're experiencing constant bloating, this can sometimes be a sign that your body is retaining water due to a high sodium intake. While it can certainly be related to your diet, it can also be a signal of more serious issues with your heart or your kidneys. So it's always something you should bring up with your doctor, just to be safe. Okay, we've just covered 5 specific types of dressings that are very common culprits. From here on out, we're going to move into the really sneaky stuff, the marketing tricks and the hidden ingredients that can make even a simple vinaigrette a poor choice. This is where you really learn to become a food detective. Okay, let's just take a quick breath here. We are halfway through our countdown, and you're doing great. So far, we've unmasked the sweet vinaigrettes like raspberry and poppy seed, the nostalgic sugar bombs like French and Catalina, the sweet and savory deceivers like honey mustard and sesame ginger, and of course, the creamy calorie traps like Caesar, blue cheese, and the king of them all, ranch. The common thread through all of these is that what's advertised on the front of the bottle, with its pretty pictures of fresh fruit and claims of classic flavor, often hides a much less healthy reality on the nutrition label on the back. But now you know what to look for in those specific types of dressings. And by the way, if you're finding this information helpful and you've had an aha moment already, would you do me a quick favor and just tap that like button below? It's a small thing for you, but it tells YouTube that this is valuable information, and it really helps other folks just like you find our community. Thank you so much for that. Now, are you ready for the top 5? This is where we get into the real game changers, the marketing myths that are specifically designed to trick you into thinking you're making a healthy choice when you might not be. Let's dive in. All right, kicking off our top 5 is one of the biggest and most successful health food traps of the last 40 years, the fat-free and light dressing illusion. You see those words on the label, and your brain immediately thinks, this is the healthy one. I'm being smart and cutting fat. But in reality, it's often a classic bait and switch. Here's the simple science behind it. In food, fat equals flavor and texture. It gives dressing that smooth, satisfying mouthfeel. When food manufacturers remove the fat from a product like salad dressing, they're left with something that's often watery, bland, and completely unappealing. So what do they do to make it taste good again? They pump it full of sugar, salt, and an array of chemical thickeners like modified food starch, xanthan gum, and other gums to mimic the texture of fat. One scientific study systematically compared regular products to their low-fat versions and found that the low-fat and non-fat foods, including salad dressings, consistently contained more sugar than the full-fat originals. For example, a bottle of light Italian dressing might have fewer calories from fat, but it can still have 2 grams of added sugar and a high amount of sodium in a single serving. A fat-free ranch dressing can boast 0 grams of fat, but when you look closer, it has a whopping 11 grams of carbohydrates, almost all of which come from sugar and corn syrup solids. You're not eliminating a problem. I was teaching a community nutrition class once, and a woman named Brenda was in the front row. She was so proud that she had switched her entire family over to fat-free everything, including her salad dressing, thinking she was protecting their hearts. But she was incredibly frustrated because she wasn't losing any weight, and her doctor had just expressed concern about her rising blood sugar levels. She had fallen for the fat-free health halo, never realizing she had just swapped one dietary problem for another. It was a real eye-opener for her when we turned the bottle over and looked at the sugar content on her healthy dressing. So your action step here is to completely ignore the fat-free or light claims on the front of the bottle. They are marketing terms. Instead, turn it over and become a detective with the ingredient list and the added sugars line on the nutrition label. And here's a key piece of information. A little bit of healthy fat is actually your friend. Healthy fats, like the kind from extra virgin olive oil or avocados, are essential. They help your body absorb the fat-soluble vitamins. That's vitamins A, D, E, and K that are packed into your salad greens and vegetables. A dressing made with real, healthy fats is far, far better for you than a chemical cocktail of sugar, salt, and thickeners. Now, of course, if you are on a specific low-fat diet that has been prescribed by your doctor for a medical condition like pancreatitis or issues with your gallbladder, it is crucial that you follow their advice. But for general heart health and wellness, the scientific consensus had shifted away from a low-fat approach to a healthy fat approach. This is a perfect conversation to have with your doctor or a registered dietitian. You can say, I'm trying to move away from processed fat-free products. What are the best sources of healthy fats for my specific health needs? So we've busted the fat-free myth. But what happens when a dressing company proudly advertises that it's made with a healthy fat? This next trick is even more subtle, and it's a big one. Let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we have a marketing trick that is incredibly effective because it preys on our best intentions. It's the made with olive oil myth. You walk down the grocery aisle and you see a bottle with a beautiful label. It has pictures of rustic Italian villas and green olives, and the words, made with extra virgin olive oil, are printed in an elegant script. It seems like the perfect, heart-healthy choice. But here's the secret that the food industry relies on you not knowing. You have to read the ingredient list. By law, ingredients must be listed in descending order by weight, from the most abundant ingredient to the least. In many of these dressings that boast about olive oil on the front, when you turn the bottle over, you'll find that olive oil is the very last oil in a so-called vegetable oil blend. That blend is almost always dominated by cheap, highly processed industrial seed oils like soybean oil, canola oil, or sunflower oil. This practice is so common and so misleading that it has led to multiple class action lawsuits against major food companies. So why is this a problem? What's wrong with soybean or canola oil? These industrial seed oils are extremely high in a type of fat called omega-6 fatty acids. Now, our bodies do need a small amount of omega-6s, but the typical American diet is absolutely overloaded with them, while being deficient in anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids. This imbalance, with far too much omega-6, is known to promote chronic inflammation throughout the body. This is the kind of underlying inflammation that is linked to a higher risk of heart disease, arthritis, and many other age-related conditions. So you're reaching for a bottle thinking you're buying an anti-inflammatory, heart-healthy product, but you're actually getting a product that can contribute to the very inflammation you're trying to avoid. I saw this play out perfectly at the grocery store just a few weeks ago. A gentleman was standing in the aisle, carefully comparing 2 bottles of Italian dressing. He pointed to the one with the pretty olive pictures on the label and said to his wife, "Let's get this one. It's better for my heart." I gently struck up a conversation and encouraged him to compare the ingredient lists on the back. On his healthy choice, the very first ingredient was soybean oil. Olive oil was listed second to last. The other bottle, which didn't have any fancy pictures, actually listed extra virgin olive oil as its first ingredient. The man was genuinely shocked. The marketing on the front of the bottle had completely fooled him. Your action step here is to become a master of reading the ingredient list. Ignore the pictures and the claims on the front of the bottle. Turn it over and find the oil. The first ingredient in the list should be extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil. If the first ingredient is soybean oil, canola oil, or a generic vegetable oil blend, you should put it right back on the shelf. Of course, the even better alternative is to make your own simple vinaigrette. It's as easy as 3 parts high-quality extra virgin olive oil to 1 part of your favorite vinegar, like balsamic or red wine vinegar, plus a little salt and pepper. That's it. When you make it yourself, you get all of the health benefits with none of the deception. And here's a crucial point. Chronic inflammation isn't something you can always feel day to day, but medical experts agree that it's a major driver of many of the diseases of aging. If you have existing conditions like heart disease, arthritis, or an autoimmune disorder, I encourage you to talk to your doctor about the power of an anti-inflammatory diet. They can provide you with sound guidance and may even refer you to a registered dietitian who can help you identify and reduce inflammatory foods like processed seed oils in your diet. This kind of deception is powerful, and it often comes wrapped in a label that gives us a false sense of security. And there is perhaps no label more powerful or more misunderstood than our next culprit. Let's talk about number 3. Coming in hot at number 3 is a word that, for many of us, has become the ultimate symbol of health and purity in the grocery store: organic. We see that green and white USDA organic seal, and we automatically assume that the product inside must be good for us. But when it comes to processed foods like salad dressing, that organic label can create a dangerous health halo. Here's the critical distinction that everyone needs to understand. The organic label is about the farming method used to grow the ingredients. Think of it this way. An organic cookie is still a cookie. It's made with organic flour, organic butter, and organic sugar, but it's still a cookie. In the same way, a bottle of organic dressing can be made with organic cane sugar and organic soybean oil. From a nutritional standpoint, it is no better for your blood sugar, your inflammation levels, or your heart than its non-organic counterpart. In fact, one dietitian specifically warned that some popular organic dressings contain as much as 8 grams of added sugar per serving, which can easily fool people who are trying to carefully manage conditions like diabetes. The organic label does not give a product a free pass on being unhealthy. My own sister is a perfect example of this. A few years ago, she decided to go all organic to improve her health. She started spending a lot more money on her groceries, diligently buying organic everything, including her salad dressings. But she was still struggling with afternoon fatigue and those nagging sugar cravings. When we finally took a close look at her favorite organic poppy seed dressing, we discovered it actually had more sugar per serving than the conventional brand she used to buy. The health halo from the organic label had completely blinded her to the actual nutrition facts on the back. So your action step here is simple. Treat an organic dressing just like you would any other dressing. You can appreciate that it likely has fewer pesticide residues, but then you must immediately turn the bottle over and apply the same detective work we've been talking about. Check the added sugars line, check the sodium content, and most importantly, check the ingredient list to see what kind of oil it's made with. Is the first ingredient organic extra virgin olive oil? Great. Is it organic canola oil or organic soybean oil? Put it back. The nutritional rules don't change just because the label says organic. If you have specific concerns about pesticide exposure or the environmental impact of your food, choosing organic is a perfectly valid personal choice. But if your primary health goal is to manage a condition like diabetes, heart disease, or inflammation, it is absolutely vital to focus on the nutritional facts: the sugar, the sodium, and the type of fat. This is a great topic to discuss with your doctor to make sure your shopping habits are truly aligned with your medical needs and health priorities. So we've seen how even the most trusted labels can be misleading. But there's another ingredient lurking in almost every single one of these bottles that is a huge concern for us as we get older. And it has nothing to do with sugar or fat. That brings us to the silent saboteur at number 2. We've arrived at number 2, and this is a big one. It's an ingredient we've mentioned a few times already, but it absolutely deserves its own spot high on this list because it is a silent saboteur in our diets: sodium. You can't always taste how much sodium is in a dressing, but your blood pressure can certainly feel its effects. Here's why this is so critical for us. As we get older, our bodies often become more sensitive to the effects of salt. This means that the same amount of sodium can raise our blood pressure more easily than it did when we were younger. Recognizing this, the American Heart Association recommends that most adults, especially those with high blood pressure, should aim for no more than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. Now, let's look at the dressings. A single 2-tablespoon serving of a light Caesar dressing can have 370 milligrams of sodium. A light ranch can have 310 milligrams, and one popular brand of light Caesar dressing has a shocking 600 milligrams of sodium. That's more than a third of your entire daily limit in one little splash of dressing. But here's the deeper science that most people don't know. It's not just about the absolute amount of sodium. I'll never forget a man named Bob who attended a heart health seminar I was part of. He was on blood pressure medication and was being incredibly meticulous about not using the salt shaker at the dinner table. He ate salads every single day, thinking he was making a heart-healthy choice. But his go-to dressing was a bottled blue cheese. He had no idea it was an absolute salt bomb. When he finally switched to a simple homemade oil and vinegar dressing and started adding potassium-rich foods like avocado and spinach to his salad, his blood pressure improved more in 1 month than it had in the entire previous year. It was a complete revelation for him. Your action step here is to make sodium a top priority when you read the nutrition label. A good rule of thumb is to aim for dressings that have less than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. And the absolute best way to do that is to make your own. A simple oil and vinegar dressing has almost no sodium. When you make your own dressing, you can add incredible flavor with things like fresh herbs, minced garlic, and spices instead of relying on salt. You can also actively help your body by boosting your potassium intake. Adding things like avocado, spinach, beans, and tomatoes to your salad will give you more potassium, which helps your body naturally manage its sodium levels. And please, remember this critical health warning. High blood pressure is often called the silent killer for a very good reason. It frequently has no symptoms at all. The only way to know if you have it is to get it checked regularly by a healthcare professional. If you do experience symptoms like persistent headaches, dizziness, or heart palpitations, it's crucial to see your doctor right away. And never, ever stop or change your blood pressure medication without their direct supervision and guidance. The sheer amount of sodium, fat, and sugar in these dressings is bad enough. But what if I told you that the sugar itself is a master of disguise, hiding under dozens of different names? This is the #1 reason so many of us get fooled. Let's reveal the final culprit. And here we are, at the #1 spot on our countdown. The single biggest, most pervasive reason that so-called healthy salad dressings are secretly full of sugar is that sugar is a master of disguise. It doesn't always say sugar on the label. In fact, according to researchers at Sugar Science, a project from UCSF, there are over 61 different names for sugar that food manufacturers use to hide it in plain sight on the ingredient list. Why do they do this? It's a very clever trick. As we mentioned, ingredients are listed in order of predominance by weight. If a product contained a lot of one type of sugar, sugar would have to be the first or second ingredient, which would be a red flag for many health-conscious shoppers. To get around this, companies will often use smaller amounts of 3, 4, or even 5 different types of sugar. For example, they might use some high-fructose corn syrup, some maltodextrin, some dextrose, and some fruit juice concentrate. None of them individually is the #1 ingredient, but when you add them all up, the product is still overwhelmingly made of sugar. It's a strategic way to make the ingredient list appear healthier than it actually is. You'll see a dizzying array of names: evaporated cane juice, barley malt, brown rice syrup, agave nectar, and of course, anything ending in the letters OS, like sucrose, fructose, glucose, and maltose. But here's the bottom line. Your body doesn't care what it's called. Whether it's organic agave nectar or high fructose corn syrup, it all gets processed in a similar way. It spikes your blood sugar, contributes to that chronic inflammation we talked about, and promotes the formation of nasty compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs are aptly named because they literally cause damage to proteins like collagen and elastin, which can accelerate the aging process in our skin and our joints. This is the ultimate food detective story. I know a very smart, health-savvy woman who is trying to cut high fructose corn syrup out of her family's diet. She would diligently read every label to avoid it. She bought a bottle of a simply natural vinaigrette because she checked the list and it didn't have HFCS. But when we looked closer together, the ingredient list read evaporated cane juice, fruit juice concentrate, and maltodextrin. It was 3 different kinds of sugar. She was so focused on avoiding the one name she knew that she completely missed the other 3 that were hiding right there in the list. Your action step for this #1 culprit is to become a sugar code breaker. First, and most importantly, use the added sugars line on the nutrition facts panel. This is your most powerful tool. The government now requires companies to list this separately, and it tells you the total amount of sugar that was added during processing. Remember the American Heart Association's daily limits: about 25 grams for women and 36 grams for men. A dressing that has 8 or 10 grams of added sugar is a huge chunk of that daily budget. Second, scan the ingredient list for multiple types of sugar. If you see 2, 3, or more different names for sugar, you know you're looking at a sugar-heavy product, no matter what the claims on the front of the bottle say. And the simplest, most empowering swap of all? A bottle of high-quality extra virgin olive oil and a bottle of your favorite vinegar. 0 added sugar. You are in complete and total control. And finally, if you have diabetes, pre-diabetes, or have been told you have insulin resistance, managing your intake of added sugar is not just a good idea. It is absolutely essential for your long-term health. If you're struggling to control your blood sugar, or if you feel confused and overwhelmed by trying to identify all the hidden sugars in your diet, please ask your doctor for a referral to a registered dietitian or a certified diabetes educator. They are incredible resources and can provide you with the personalized expert guidance you deserve. And there you have it, the top 10 culprits hiding in your salad dressing. From sweet vinaigrettes to the fat-free myth, all the way down to the 61 names for sugar. It might seem like a lot to take in, but what this all boils down to is one simple, powerful idea. So, as we've seen today, making a truly healthy choice when you're standing in that grocery aisle isn't just about grabbing a bag of lettuce and calling it a day. It's about becoming an informed, empowered consumer. It's about understanding that the front of the package is marketing, but the back of the package is where the truth lies. The battle for your health is often won in the details, in those few extra seconds you take to turn the bottle over and really read the label. The most important message I want you to leave with today is this: you are in the driver's seat. You are the chief executive of your own health. For so many years, we've been told to trust the flashy claims and the pretty pictures on the front of the box. But today, you've gained the insider knowledge to see past that marketing and to make choices that truly serve your body, your vitality, and your precious independence. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which of these 10 culprits was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the fat-free trap, the made with olive oil myth, or were you shocked by the 61 different names for sugar? Please leave a comment down below. I love reading your stories and your insights, and it helps our entire community learn and grow together. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, and you want more practical, no-nonsense content to help you live a healthier, more vibrant life, please take just a moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell. It's the very best way to make sure you don't miss our next video together. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Remember, every single small, smart choice you make is a victory for your health. Here's to your health, and I'll see you in the next video.